Hi everyone. In November, Naples Grand Golf Club and the Durland Golf School partnered with True Spec Golf. We're going to discuss what you can expect from a fitting with True Spec, what are the benefits of fitting, and how do I know I need a fitting. But before we get to that, please like, subscribe, and comment. Okay, so I'm here with Dan Doyle, True Spec's master fitter here at Naples Grand. And Dan, the first question I have for you is, how do I know I need a fitting?
Well, you can take a look at your own club and you'll notice the wear pattern, whether that strike is on the exact center or anywhere else on the club that's less than desirable. You'll notice what your tendencies are, and if they're not on the center, they need to be addressed.
And Dan, one way I can do that is at the golf school I use Dr. Scholl's foot spray. Comes in a yellow can. I'll put a link below that you can go onto Amazon and get some yourself, but it's a great diagnostic tool when you're on the range hitting balls. Just spray the face and see where is my contact point.
That feedback's important, and it's definitely something that's going to benefit you to playing off of the center of the club face. That's how your club performs its best.
From distance, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Distance, dispersion, any measurable of what that optimal ball flight would be. But if those golf clubs aren't well fit to you, it's certainly going to be more challenging, and it might not be possible at all.
Okay, that's great information. Any other signs I should look for in my golf bag, or maybe when I'm playing golf, I see certain things that tell me, maybe these clubs aren't quite right?
Sure. Well, if you find yourself avoiding a particular club in your bag, you might come to a certain shot and deep down you know what club is appropriate to hit the best shot possible, but you're opting to not choose that club. That's a pretty good indicator that maybe that club's not appropriate for you and it's probably not well fit to you.
Yeah, and you know, one thing we've done, Dan, this winter, all my golf school clients that came into town, you did a blueprint for them of how was their set set up, and what we noticed was the gapping wasn't right. What I mean by that, a 7 and an 8 iron were acting the same, going the same distance. Some people had 2 sand wedges in their bag. We had one person that the shaft was all over the place, really wonky. And the interesting thing is when I talked to those people, they would say, oh yeah, I never liked that club. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Right, you could see a light bulb go off. They'd understand why that club was giving them such a hard time. And there needs to be a particular reason and purpose for every club that's in your bag. And there's so many different ways that golf clubs can be built and designed to help every individual golfer get the most out of their games. We need to make sure that your clubs are the very best for you so you can play your best golf.
And I think it's great what you said. If you're staying away from a club, there's probably a root reason for that. And then I think another good way to know is certainly the center face contact, but also I've got 2 clubs that do exactly the same thing. And the interesting thing is we had some students that, you know, they had a sand wedge that said 56 on it, and then they had an actual sand wedge that had S on it, not realizing that loft-wise those are the same club.
Definitely, and sometimes that wedge that says 56 on it, it might not even be 56 degrees. That regular flex shaft, it may be playing to a stiff or a senior flex shaft. And this game's tough enough as it is. We need to have the proper tools to get the job done.
Definitely, very helpful. Okay, Dan, so the first question we answered is, how do I know I need a fitting? And that was really helpful. So the next question is going to be, what are the benefits of club fitting?
Well, I think that you leave that fitting knowing that you've got the very best clubs for your game, and there's a certain confidence that you can take with that.
Yeah, confidence, I think for sure. And I know for me personally, and I've talked to other students about it, knowing that there's not a better club out there, like a better driver that I can hit further, or a shaft that's going to help me hit it further, or a better iron that's going to tighten my dispersion, or whatever the case may be.
Sure. So each of your students are going to have a particular pattern with their game, and we take a look at what those patterns are, and we address those with the particular equipment that's going to allow for them to maximize what they naturally do.
and do it time and time again, and that is the confidence.
Yeah, definitely, and the time and time again, the consistency, right? To be able to accomplish that shot you know, each time that you're encountered with it.
And when we talk consistency, it probably has something to do with how the club interacts with the ground, like knowing that, hey, I'm not going to swing this back and stick it in the ground, or that it's not going to hit the ground and deflect, or that kind of stuff.
Sure, and you make that swing and you feel that poor strike, and you might react to it, and you might manipulate your swing time and again.
I see that
and,
a lot.
You know, that leads to more inconsistencies. And by addressing the reasons that your club does interact with the turf that way, whether it's the loft, the lie, the length of the club, making sure that those are all addressed and built to the exact specifications that you need is going to allow for you to be more consistent.
Yeah, and every player I think I've talked to want to be more confident. They want to be more consistent. So what would be the next benefit?
I think everybody wants to hit the ball further, right?
Right
so
here.
that distance, it's not much more fun in playing golf than hitting that drive that really sails, or that optimizing the ball flight, that certain conditions, whether it's the launch angle, the spin rates, the ball speed, we're going to make sure that those are as finely tuned and as close to optimal as possible.
And it's not just one driver that you're fitting. I mean, True Spec is brand agnostic, so you're going to have every major manufacturer you can think of, TaylorMade, Ping, Callaway, go through the list, and then we're going to have a variety of shafts. You can tell me how many shafts there are. I can see them from here. There's a ton of them in there. But through all those combinations, we're going to find what's going to max my distance, what I can hit absolutely the furthest, and what I can hit further than what I'm currently playing, most likely.
Definitely. So that Club Connects adapter that allows for us to interchange every club head with every shaft gives us the opportunity to address certain patterns in your game, in your students' games, that we all swing it a little bit differently. We all have our own idiosyncrasies, and to think that one club could be suitable for two people with different swings just doesn't make a lot of sense.
And you're using technology with this too. You're using TrackMan that's measuring the club, it's measuring the ball. So we're getting hard data that says, hey, you know what, Mark, you're hitting this further than you hit your driver. Right,
it's totally data driven. So we're looking at every last aspect as to how that golf ball flies, and we're making sure that that TrackMan gives us the proper feedback to know, how much further did we hit that shot, how much of a height did we achieve that's going to allow for us to get that ball to stop over the bunker, and having that very objective comparison and being brand agnostic, it allows for us to leave no stone unturned. You're ending up with the equipment that gives you the best chance with every shot.
Yeah, and that's great. And I use the TrackMan technology at my golf school, and it's such a powerful tool. Okay, so we've got confidence, we've talked about consistency, we now talked about distance. What's the next benefit?
Well, that distance can be great, but we need that accuracy. That dispersion needs to be as tight as possible. And so, with that tightening of the dispersion, our bad shots are more functional. Our good shots are closer to the hole. And
let's take a step backwards, Dan. Define what is dispersion. When I say dispersion, what are we talking about? I mean, distance is pretty clear, but what's dispersion?
Sure. So you've got that flag stick 100 yards away, and you hit that shot. How far did that ball end up from the flag stick? So whether it's left or right, long or short. So along with that dispersion, the distance control, having that ability to be consistent with each club, to be able to hit any yardage out there on the course.
All right, so this has been really helpful so far, Dan. You've told us how we might know if we need a fitting, what the benefits of a fitting are. So I think the last thing that we should discuss is I show up for a fitting here at Naples Grand Golf Club or at the Durland Golf School, and what can I expect from a True Spec fitting?
Well, we're going to first have a conversation so I get to know you. I want to know about your game, what your goals are, what you're looking to improve. And
so an interview process.
Definitely start off by defining what that successful fitting is going to be all about. It might be just a a driver fitting, it may be a full bag fitting, but we're equipped to put 14 clubs into your bag that are going to be those very best for you.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so you interview me, then what?
Well, so we'll start off by measuring your clubs. We want to know those characteristics as to how clubs can be different, whether it's the loft on a club, the lie on the club. We start off by, here at the Mitchell machine, we'll measure the loft and lie on each of those clubs in your bag. We'll measure the length of the clubs, the swing weights.
And what do you use to measure the length?
Yeah, we've got the ruler here that will measure the lengths of the clubs to see if they're a standard length, longer, shorter than standard. And we've also got the frequency machine here that'll tell us, well, how stiff is that stiff shaft of yours? There's a certain range that we're trying to be as precise as possible to make sure that you've got the very best.
Great. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier in the video is that for my golf school students that come into town, you do something that's called a blueprint, a True Spec blueprint. And can you go over what the student receives when they do that?
Sure. So you'll understand how those different aspects of that build of the club are put together.
And there's 5 parameters you're measuring, right?
Yep, we're looking for the loft, the lie, the length, the swing weight, and the frequency of that shaft.
Right, and as you mentioned earlier as well, I mean, I could have a shaft that says stiff on it, but it frequencies out to a lady shaft.
That's exactly right. Those industry standards, those tolerances that when they leave the factory, there's going to be a certain range there. We want to make sure that there's a precise reason as to why that club is in your bag.
Okay, so this is fantastic. I'm going to show up, you're going to interview me, of course, and then you're going to measure my clubs. What's the next step?
Right, so from there we then go test your clubs. We set a baseline as to how your clubs are performing.
So I'll go hit them.
We'll go hit your clubs first. And knowing how your clubs are built and the specifications that you're playing to currently, well, once we see those patterns in your ball flight, what we're looking to improve upon, that's where I'm clued in as to what other options are going to be more beneficial to give you the better chance to play both.
And these things feed on each other. I mean, you're hearing what's coming out of my mouth from an interview standpoint. You're measuring what I'm playing right now. Now you're watching me hit it. And so you've got all this information that you can start to decipher into what would be the next step.
Right, so at that point we know which club heads are going to be appropriate to test. We test a number of different club heads and pair those up with the appropriate shafts that are going to make sense for how you deliver the club. And from there the TrackMan is going to give us the feedback along with just seeing the ball flight and feeling that proper contact. We're going to then know, how much better we can make your clubs for you.
Okay, and we did talk earlier, you guys are True Spec is brand agnostic, so you've got every club head in here from every major manufacturer. How many, you got to tell me how many shafts are in here. I see all these shafts, how many, and then there must be a matrix, a combination of how many things are in here, right?
Right, so every driver shaft that you see on the wall, and there might be about 95 to 100 of them up here currently. Each one of those shafts can go into every club head that we have in our drawer here. So the options, there's well into the thousands. It's somewhere between 30 and 40,000 combinations that we're able to produce.
That's unbelievable. So I guess there is hope for my game when we look at 30 to 40,000 combinations. We should be able to find one thing that Mark Derlin might be able to hit straight or further, right?
Well, there's that one combination that's going to give you the best performance, and that's what we're here to do. We're going to find that for you.
Okay, Dan, this has been fantastic and a lot of fun for me. And so through the interview process, we decided, or you heard from me, that I need a new driver. And you grabbed my current driver and you measured it first. Then we went out onto the driving range and you watched me hit my current driver, as well as pick up some TrackMan data to see what I could do with it. Then you came back into the fitting room here and the studio, and you grabbed a couple different heads and some shafts from the matrix that you have in here, and we're able to find the best combination for me. So what's the final phase?
Yeah, that final phase is going to be the most important phase. We've found this club to perform the very best for you, throughout our testing. Well, we need to make sure that the club that you receive is exactly the same in every which way. I'm going to outline the specifications of this club in a prescription, which I'll send into our workshop in Scottsdale, Arizona. There you'll have one builder take care of producing this exact same club. He's going to look at every last detail and make sure that those specifications are hit exactly.
Yeah, and the details are amazing, because I mean, we went all the way down to like what grip size did I want.
That's right. There's a reason as to why each of these specifications was best for you, and we're going to make sure that that's what you receive.
And that's really what sets True Spec apart from like just walking into a golf shop and grabbing a driver off the rack.
Sure, because in doing so, there's a certain range or certain tolerances that those clubs leave the assembly line in the factories that they're coming from to the retail floor. Well, we want to make sure that you're receiving something that's specifically built for you for a reason.
And it's customized.
That's right.
Okay, why don't you show me a few of the things that you do to write this prescription?
Sure. So we've got this driver here that we've deemed 45 inches. Our standard length is appropriate for you, it's best performing for you. Well, we've also chosen which grip you're going to like on this club. Now, one grip is not going to weigh the exact same as the next grip, and so we're going to weight, sort, and make sure that each of the components that are going into producing this club are measured and accounted for. So one of the last steps that we'll take with creating and producing those specifications is to get the swing weight here.
And so my builder in Arizona is going to be doing the same exact thing.
That's right. There's different ways that he can construct this driver to achieve different swing weights, and this is the one that he's going to create for you.
And do I need to drive to Arizona to pick these clubs up, or how does that happen?
No, they'll be sent to any place that's most convenient to you.
So they'll deliver it right to my doorstep if that's where I choose.
That's exactly right.
So that was some really helpful information from Dan about how you know if you need a fitting, what benefits you can see from club fitting, and what you can expect from a club fitting with True Spec Golf. So if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, there's 2 videos up here right now that I promise will help you to continue to improve your game. And also, don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment on this video.